Okay, so conscious mind conversation with myself and Sally. Hello, Sally. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Fantastic. um, so you're feeling better with I can't remember what happened in your last session. Um, not they sort of reminded you once again about your water consumption.
Yes, they did. I was really dizzy and yeah, they just told me like more water and I thought I was drinking enough, but apparently it wasn't enough. So I'm drinking more now.
Well, that is good. I know. I think every time they say to me, "Oh, they're not drinking enough water," I'm like, "In what world do they not listen about the water?"
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, we just think, "Oh, it's boring." Water. How important can it truly be? And as we're listening to these sessions about how our bodies are profoundly changing and that dizziness that we feel is because we are dehydrated because our bodies are shifting and changing quite a rapid rate. It's like, you know what they're saying about the water? It kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and the flushing out of everything too. That makes, I mean, obviously that's a given, but I really thought that I was drinking enough, and it's almost like you got to go even double time on it now just because of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, because this energy is ramping up quite a lot because there is that big, great movement of unity with all of these rallies, and people are awakening up, and people are able to harness a higher frequency. It's kind of um, the success of everyone awakening and expanding at a higher frequency rate means that light workers and energy workers, they have, a more broader field to work in and resonate with. And so it's fantastic. It's super exciting, to feel this energy change and to be of profound service. And of course you don't have to drink water, but I think that would be the harder choice, because you do honestly feel like crap when you don't hydrate enough.
Yeah, definitely. And even with coffee, I noticed that it's just not making me feel the same. Like it's almost like my stomach is not, you know, um, liking it too much.
So you used to drink coffee for a little like zing, a little skip in your step, I'm guessing, and so you used to like that energy boost. You are beyond in that energy boost. You're like jazz handsing espresso. And so you actually naturally can vibrate at a higher frequency than even caffeine. And so it gives you a density now. Your cup of joe versus, so you're still thinking it gives you that boost, but it actually makes you feel even sluggish, and that's confusing because you're like, should I just have another cup, another cup, another cup?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want that 4 liter bucket of espresso, thank you.
Yeah. Give me 12 cups. Thanks.
Lots of sugar to go. Do you drink coffee with sugar?
No, just almond milk.
Okay, okay. I'm not judging. Because ultimately it doesn't affect me what you do with your body, but um just like with everyone, this is advice that we can take it or leave it, but we can't pretend we didn't know. At this point, we can't pretend that if we're feeling sluggish or anything that doesn't give us our full vitality, it's because we need more water. Because we need to relax and rest and surrender into our worries and all that stuff. So, I mean, you're amazing. You've got it going on, my friend.
Oh, thank you. You do too.
Have we explored a mermaid life with you? Do you think you've had one?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, at this point, it could be I could have been anything. I wouldn't be surprised.
um, your what we've explored with your other lifetimes is incredible. and just listening to the information, say for example, the Jack the Ripper, knowing that you didn't read that book, and then Erin and I are doing this, this working project to see what we need to expand on, and here you are, one of our friends, literally having a lifetime as one of his victims and being able to get the same information, which is again proof that these sessions are more than just human ego. It's a consciousness, it's a collectiveness that is giving us this information, which just gives me so much joy because I love consistency. I love, I can't believe how incredibly amazing this work is.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it to you or not, but it was before we actually did the session where we talked about it further privately. But I started manifesting at work. I started getting really burning sensation across my right eyelid and a stabbing feeling in my stomach that lasted for a couple hours before we actually did the private session. And it just felt like I was literally getting stabbed and I was literally cut on my eye. It was just so weird. And we did the session, talked about it more in depth, and then it all went away.
My goodness. Yeah, I don't think that many people would be gagging to have sessions if they get to pre-relive your past trauma experiences physically. It's interesting though. I'm wondering why. I'm wondering why you had to experience that because I'm assuming that would have been quite discomforting, discomfortable.
Yeah, I was at work and it started actually happening. And I felt like it was almost like confirmation and then releasing it through like energy. It just felt like almost like I had to like release it. And that was almost like my way of like putting it to bed.
Mm. Remember, what was the session? I can't remember which one it was, where they said that the frequency vibrations of the planet is so high now that the veil is so thin that we're connecting in more and more than ever before to other lifetimes. And so I'm assuming you were already preparing yourself to relive that journey being that woman. And so you brought it through,
Hmm.
obviously.
Hmm.
Did I
Yeah.
just mansplain the shit out of that for you?
Yeah, that sounds about right. That was really the how I felt when it was happening.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so I find it really fascinating, and I think it's really purposeful because I keep getting a lot of questions about this from many people. They want to understand why their QHHT sessions failed. From their perspective, it failed. And, it's always heartbreaking when you spend money and time wanting to have a session and you have expectations of success and then you're left with not what you anticipated or expected. And so I thought that Sally and I could talk about the sessions and what they really are and hopefully demyth and explain what they are versus assumptions and expectations. So tell me, my friend, your journey about your QHHT. What did you expect, and what was the actual reality?
Yeah, so what I expected was I assumed that you'd be under so deep that you'd be literally dreaming and asleep and not conscious. And it was almost like you wouldn't remember anything. You would just literally fall into a sleep and have it all recorded. And then you wake up and then, oh, I didn't even know I was saying any of that. Um, but what I didn't realize was when you actually go under, you are still conscious. You're almost like in a nap where you're still able to hear things, understand things, your conscious mind is still there, but then your subconscious, it's almost like the subconscious is the driver and then the conscious mind is the passenger. So the subconscious is there pretty much in control of what you're seeing, or if you're not seeing anything, what you're, getting information of. But then it's like your conscious mind is watching and seeing it also, from like a side view. So it's not like you're out of control. You don't feel out of control. You feel fully in control. And you even can hear me questioning things because my conscious mind is like, I don't get it, or things like that. So um, it's it's interesting because you just have to have that almost blind faith that what you're seeing and or what you're hearing is what you're supposed to be experiencing at that time. And I just say whatever I see. And even if it's weird, even if my conscious mind doesn't quite understand what's happening, I will still say it or explain how I see it.
Fantastic. And so, your first session, do you recall your feelings and thoughts afterwards? Like, huh, I noticed this because you got visuals, didn't you?
I did. And I was, so I thought I was making it up. That was my first thought. I think everybody kind of has that first thought of like, am I making this up? Like, it just
Did you?
doesn't seem,
Um,
yeah.
so when did you feel that way when you listened back to the session though?
I didn't, because I did have some dreams, like with the Atlantis life, for example. I knew something happened there. And so that was kind of my confirmation. But it was almost like the first session, it was just really confusing for me, just because I've never experienced it. And it's just having that blind faith. Of course, when you go through it, it is like, whoa, like I'm making this up. Like it's not possible. And hearing it back, it did help a lot because there was so much going on. And it was just like one scene after the other after the other. And I thought, there's no way I can just make this up. Where it's just coming from. But my initial thought was, yeah, I'm totally just creating this in my mind, which was so interesting because it was just something that was new to me, and you're always kind of, you aren't sure about new things right away.
And then did you have emotions? I mean, gosh, I feel like we've been doing sessions for so long now that do you remember the first one in terms of the lives that you explored?
So I did have emotions. There was a scene I remember where I was, I don't know if she was some kind of like royal, but it was in like a castle scene, and she threw herself out the window, and I felt pain shooting up my arm when I saw the scene where she hit her arm. So she like landed on her arm and her whole side of her left body, and I felt shooting pain up my arm.
Oh my
And
God, this is the hang on. I just remember this. This is it was in Russia, and you jumped out the window.
yes,
Ugh,
yes.
your dress sounded luscious, though. I have to say.
Yeah, and that was kind of like that, almost like I was like, whoa, like did I make that up? Again, it was the same thing. Did I make this up like when I was doing it? Because it's just like the almost like the first initial time I did it, it felt like that. Everything else felt like really like, whoa, I can totally understand this. I have so much faith, but it was just getting through that first time um
Yeah.
was just interesting, because it was like putting myself in a position where I never put myself in before.
Mm. And I knew it was royal life, but it's so interesting that the clients are embarrassed to say it because they're like, "Oh, this must be my ego because I think I'm a little princess,"
Yes.
and
Yep.
it's so interesting, and people are wanting to deny what they're getting in senses, and so they will not want to acknowledge, um, you know, much details. Not that it matters for me because they're having the experience of the other lifetime, and we can find out that the significance was, you exited from the window. Well, it was just that didn't kill you, did it? That was you actually died in a bed later.
Hmm. Yep.
Gruesome, gruesome.
Yep.
So,
One of many.
We must sound like monsters just talking about a cage like, and then this death you had. Um, yeah, it takes it takes getting used to talking about this work, that's for sure. And so,
Mhm.
but so you had those experiences, you physically felt that, and you have the visuals. And I think many people who don't get visuals, it's almost like it's too much to have the visuals, so they get limited of just senses just to be able to describe the basic things that are really that's the essential information. Because the veil's so thin now, we really are within the session. I can tell when the conscious mind comes in and the subconscious comes in very easily. But I think it, um, it took me some time to realize what's going on in the sessions as they unfold and develop. And the first part of the QHHT session is the physical experiences of other lifetimes, or non physical, as you were just, could just be an orb floating around, living your best life. So then the information, and you don't have to share your private stuff because I feel like you already are sharing so much of your private lives with us, but the significance of that lifetime, being that little Russian girl who threw herself out of the window. Can you recall what the significance and purpose and lessons of that one was?
Oh gosh. Mm. I just remember, I just remember feeling like being made fun of and like sad and lonely. I tried to recall the purpose of it and I can't.
Mm. Yeah. And I mean, the reason why we're here is to talk about the actual sessions and why people get frustrated with their what they perceive as unsuccessful sessions. So, thank you. It's not a test.
I still passed, thank you.
You got a gold star. Yeah. And so, um, so when you listen back to the session, you still had all of those experiences and recall a memory of the first part quite strongly, but the second part where the subconscious comes in, was it as clear or was there a difference?
Trying to remember. Something that really struck me with the subconscious with the first session, I remember was when the subconscious was saying that um, Sally was confused about this place because the love was different and she didn't like it. And it was just the way that they talked, and it felt like it wasn't me for sure. I think it was more towards the middle or the end of the session, and it was my subconscious because it was speaking in such a way about love, and I'm not happy because the love is different here. That really, I mean, that's not something I would have said consciously.
Mm, yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely. I fully get that. And so this is why, this is why people, when they listen back to their sessions, they go, "Well, it's my voice, and I know I said it, but I don't feel like that's my information." And so if they're in denial, and it's healthy, I guess, for many people to still be in denial of how they view the world and understand the world. And so when the subconscious comes in and says, for example, she doesn't love herself, and all this sort of stuff. They're very open and blatantly telling me what's going on, and it's quite sort of shocking how much they will tell on.
They
And
will tell on you, yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's just accountability. And if
Mhm.
you're trying to truly find out what your inner work is and what's going on there, sometimes it's really like, I never considered this for a second. And here I am listening to myself being very confident about, what my subconscious is saying through me. And it kind of, it can be quite sort of surprising for some people because they never would have considered they actually had that. And then, you get the other side of it, those people who have gigantic egos, and then their subconscious is saying that. They have such huge egos. They're not listening to us. They block us all the time. They need to humble themselves. They need to be caring of others. They actually need to be kind to others. You know, like I've heard the subconscious say all of that and much, much more. And I just think, oh, I wonder how they're going to feel when they listen to that.
Yeah, it's a truth bomb, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. And it's you know, we have to be responsible, and if we have signed up for these big life contracts and you know we need to be of service, um, you know, let's do that. Let's not do that, you know. So um, the subconscious will talk about us. It always surprises me when they refer to me as Joanne because oh, that's not what I normally go by. And so it is interesting when they feel so familiar, but yet I've usually been blocking mine. Like I remember just thinking back in my first and second sessions, I had them a few days apart, and the first session was all the information plus a lot more, but I'd been sort of like suppressing it. I didn't want to think and feel into it, and so it was just a lot of confirmation of stuff I've already heard and felt before, but I was ignoring it. And so they came out and said a whole lot of stuff that, you know, they it's like once they get the microphone, they're like they want it all, and they want to be heard finally because I think they must be so frustrated. They can see our potentials, they know what we're here for, we know what we're supposed to be doing, and if we are somehow a little bit off purpose or just they have a different perspective of things that are sort of holding us back, you know, they want to help us. So you know, it is incredible. um, so
Mhm.
when the subconscious talks about us, they will say her, she, you know, Joanne, Sally. But when they're talking about themselves, they actually say I. So the subconscious will own its own self and use the right pronoun I. I, said the subconscious, think she's doing a fantastic job. And I know that many people get confused when the subconscious component of the session says I, because they're just listening to these sessions to find any, you know, any faults or flaws. And so they're like, oh, right, yeah, that's the ego speaking because it said I. No, that is your ego speaking because you misunderstand the session and the information. The subconscious is allowed to have an I. It's allowed to be able to speak for itself, and it does very well. And so when people don't understand these sessions, they would jump and use their egos to be able to try and discredit it, or you know, do whatever they want to do to give themselves justification of doubt or whatever is going on for them. So understanding what these sessions actually are is really significant. And I do feel sorry for those people who have profound sessions. They come out of the session and then they're like, well, I was talking the whole time. I made it all up. I'm not even going to bother listening to that session because I recall everything. And it doesn't work like that. It's, you know, you're speaking for 2 hours and you cannot recall everything. You have to listen back to be able to hear it because you've just experienced the session for those 2 hours. It could be its emotional journey, it can be a whole lot of other things. It can be fantastic joy, it can be returning to home planets, it can be going to New Earth, it can be doing a whole lot of amazing stuff. And so experiencing the session needs to be experienced and enjoyed, or, you know, learned from. But it's so crucial listening back to the sessions. And I keep hearing people saying, I remember everything, I'm not going to bother listening.
Mm. Yeah. So this reminds me of the last session we had. I wasn't feeling good at all. And so they knew that. And so they were giving me very basic things, very basic information, and basic visuals. And I remember being just so out of it, and like questions would be asked, and I would forget the question, but they would continue talking. My conscious mind was like literally like, okay, I'm going to take a break. And it didn't make any sense until we listened back to it. And then it made so much sense.
Yeah. Well, I often find when I'm channeling, I'm so distant, I'm not focusing on what they're even talking about. And then they may sort of say my name or something, and then it perks my interest. And then I'm like, what did they just say? And
You're talking about me?
you can hear it in sessions when clients are so deep and relaxed because it is a deep state of relaxation. You're just in a very relaxed state. Your mind is very relaxed, your body is very relaxed. And so Mr. Ego is not, Dolores would say, Mr. Stupid, is not interfering and being a busybody. And so when you hear clients saying, ah, is that making sense? Because the subconscious is saying, oh, did we explain ourselves well here? Because the client suddenly like coming to a little bit more, not awake, because they're not asleep, but the subconscious can read the thoughts of what the clients are going through. And so the subconscious will be like, oh, they're confused now. Did we just make sense? And so of course they made sense, but the mind is worried. And once the mind sort of panics or worries, then the subconscious wants to ask, did we clarify this well for you? This is, because we want the body to relax. And I know when I was asking about my children and the shift last year, I was clenching my body. I was scared. I was nervous. I didn't know how I was going to respond and process the information. And of course, they only give us information that we're ready for and that we can handle. And if we're trying to skip ahead in class and try to get bigger information that's above our vibration and our frequency and what we're allowed to know at this time, we'll be given exactly what we need to be given. And this information is not for everyone. And this information is certainly not for all collectives.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's significant. This work is very protected. You cannot muck around with this work. If you try to misuse this work, there is serious consequences. Serious consequences. And, it's all cute to think that people can manipulate and misuse, even if they think that they're doing the best for humanity or for themselves or whatever. You're dealing with advanced beings who know and see all. It's so cute when people think that they can use their 3D minds and egos to manipulate the systems.
Yeah. Yeah. And even with our sessions that we have, from time to time, they purposely will take away my visuals, you know, um, for certain reasons, important reasons. So it's a matter of just accepting what I'm getting and then just again having just like blind faith in what is being shown or, said to me during the sessions, the subconscious.
Mm.
So yeah, it's definitely interesting, and I fully respect the messages coming through and whatever they want to show me or not show me. There's a purpose for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know that there was a time where we asked a question and we didn't get given the answer because they're like, we can't give you this right now. And I just know someone with a big ego would have been like, how dare you limit me? I'm asking, I'm using my free will. And it's kind of like, this is a gift. These connections are profound gifts and treasures and profound sacred wisdom. And for those people who want to just get access to certain things that were going to make their lives privileged or whatever, I mean, you can't misuse this work. You'll try, but there will be some serious consequences to it. So, in terms of what information we do get, we respect and thank it, and we are very grateful for all the information. We also know that many people try to listen to these sessions and they cannot resonate with this level of information because it's just not their time to be able to hear the bigger perspective of things as they're still needing to overcome their lessons in the 3D.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Mm. I mean, it is pretty profound. Um, Also, they know that many different collectives listen, and that many different collectives are trying to work to get their own collectives agenda and needs and requirements met. And uh, you know we are just 3D, and we trust that we're being guided to the right directions that we should be going, and we are learning the same information as everyone else is, while we're still trying to balance our own 3D lives and process it. And I think a lot of people would read Dolores Cannon's books and assume that all of this, if they had a session, they would have, you know, a huge, big information just dropped on their lap, and they would be given answers to everything that they think they want. And in reality, the subconscious is getting the client to have a session to be able to focus on what's really holding them back and blocking them this lifetime. And you will not get advanced information. The practitioner will not get advanced information. The client will not get advanced information if they are limited or blocked with their own inner work. It's not a judgment, it is literally certain people can resonate with this information because this is what their roles and jobs are. And so I think a lot of people are confused about why this isn't broad main information and why everyone doesn't know about the shift. And I think, well, Dolores has been writing about it for decades. Lots of people have been writing about it, and people are choosing not to buy into it or focus on it or believe it, or they got distracted.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes too, it's like just having the trust, and the love for your team helps, especially because this information is not, it takes a lot to, try to understand it and resonate with the higher purposes. And, it's a lot of change. And I just think that, when you have so much trust and know that you're protected and there's always a bigger reason and a greater purpose, it just, I feel like you can accept the information better.
I think you've got you already had quite a strong connection to your team, so you sort of knew that doesn't matter what I say, I can't manipulate you into the answers. Not that I even would anyway, but you knew that there was not going to be any like danger of you being misused or coerced or anything like that. And um, that's, I mean, it's fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's also, that's also something too. Like, if you trust yourself, you trust your team, you trust the practitioner, it all just, you feel safer and you feel more free to be able to say whatever you see, no matter how weird it is. Because I felt like I could say anything, anything I saw,
Hmm.
which was nice.
Well, I mean, ultimately, each session is really private for the client. I mean, we do have public sessions that the collectives do know about, and this is the information we get for public consumption. But the private sessions are really specifically for the client. And so I think some people get a bit confused about that because they think it's information that can be applied to all and for all. So, did you, on a scale of 1 to 10, before you had your first session, uh, what was your belief system value of shifting to a whole new planet, which would be titled New Earth, from our perspective right now?
So I started listening to the sessions. I fell into it randomly in the end of June. And I think we had our first session in September, October. So it was a few months. And I was, of course, you go through it like, oh my gosh, like that's a lot of information. And I was almost grieving, before the session, the first session. about the information because it resonated so strongly. And it was because I could feel like the vibrations in the videos. And so I knew it to be true. And I started to grieve knowing I was going to be leaving here. And it was a lot to process. It really was. And, I just, I always felt very connected to the God energy. And I always would just ask for help and, strength. And so I kind of leaned on that and just remaining positive. And the sessions were really good because it gave a broader idea of what's really happening, and all is well is what I was hearing often. And it actually helped me be at peace with it, just by hearing the sessions once I learned of the information.
Hmm. And then when you had your session and it was confirmed through you that you are shifting off planet, did that reality set in? Was there a challenge for you to step into it, or
It was so I was accepting it for many months before. Seeing it, yeah, it was confirmation. And I don't remember having such a difficult time as I did when I first heard the information. It was almost like they were sending me so much love in the sessions. And it was it was interesting. It was just like I already almost in a way accepted it. And it was more confirmation and just confirming about the subconscious being there always and the teams being there always. And it was more of an amazing experience. I didn't feel so griefed over it once I actually did the sessions, though.
you bring such a good point into it. The When you get the information from the higher dimensional beings personally yourself, there is this like a profound acceptance of all the information, and that's it's quite a healing delivery to be told something, and that's such like nurtured, held, supported deliverance that it takes away any fear, any worry, and yeah, it's such a good point. I haven't articulated that before independently.
Yeah, I actually didn't even think about it till now, but I was going back in my head and I was remembering. Yeah, it was like I felt so loved in every single session, so supported. It was just like a gift. Like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe how much love there was in those sessions when subconscious was connecting in. It's just, it's like a high. It's amazing.
It is incredible energy, that's for sure. And did you get a sense of like the day spa, where you get the like it's like you're in a bubble bath, but it's internally.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, there was, of course, I would feel it throughout the sessions. Like when they like took me when I was in 5D and they were like doing the energy and it was really strong energy. It actually felt like really cool. And then afterward, I would have this energy boost after the sessions, for like an hour or two, just excitement. It was very nice. It felt very good and healing and clearing. That's what it felt like.
Mm, fantastic. And then, of course, you already had experienced New Earth in a dream, which then you sort of reminded yourself of. I can't remember during a session or when you were prepping for a session, you had that dream that was just really remarkable years ago. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was heaven. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago I had it. And then, yeah, they reminded me in the session because I think I was curious to see what it was. And they said, yeah, it was New Earth. Somehow I tapped into it, but I was super high vibration. I remember during that time, I was like so high up. It was at that point where people were looking at me like I was like an alien. Like I was just like not even, I couldn't even connect to people because I was just so, um, I can't even explain it.
I love it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, how incredible. And so then, um, I think, I mean, you're super mature about the sessions and the information. It's quite remarkable. And I do know that many people who do get the information about this shift being truly off planet, um, it's almost like they were really hoping for them it just would be like, don't worry about it, it's all just pretend, it's just to help people do their inner work and just like motivate them. And they sort of have this like real hope and fantasy that their session, their subconscious is gonna tell them the true truth. And I have seen so many people just like, oh, that was a great session, I loved it, but then now I've got to actually apply the information. And now no one I know knows this. And where do I go from here? It's challenging. That's a real challenge.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people have the questions about like, the inner work and how do they even start? Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Many people I have seen know that they're going to the new earth, so then they're like, sweet, don't need to do anything. And they don't understand how these sessions work in terms of when we are asking from this perspective now to the new earth, will this client go to the new earth, and how what do they need to do. um, they forget what they need to do to get there, which is maintain their frequency vibration and do a whole lot of stuff. And um, you know I just think it's an interesting choice for those people who don't want to deal with their inner work and their blocks. I think everyone I know is really, truly, honestly, actively going through their inner work and expanding themselves and finding where they can be of service. And those are true humanitarians. Those are profound light workers that are just super impressive. Um, but the shock of having to what they would perceive as lose this lifetime is too hard for them to bear. And I think it scares them when they really deeply resonate with this information and then they get their own personal confirmation, yes, the shift is off planet. And I've even had subconsciouses say, oh, she's not going to like this because she doesn't believe it. But the shift is off planet, but she won't believe it. And I'm like, well, you're telling her this now. Like when she listens back to the session, you know, is she going to believe it then? And then they're like, oh, she's not going to listen back to the session. And I'm thinking, why?
Mm.
Why do that to yourself? But free will and all. But it is so interesting that the subconscious will literally say that this person is really hoping that they'll get the truth. And it is, it's the truth that you'll get in sessions, regardless of whether you want to hear your inner work and or not. And then I feel sorry for so many people that are afraid to get sessions, because what if their families are separating? What if they are staying on the old earth and they have to see their children exit before them? That's all fear, those what ifs, and you're blocking yourself from having a session because of what you would perceive as horrible or wrong experiences. Face your fears. Soon as you face your fears, then you actually advance quite quickly. And this is a great thing for people to do with their inner work. Facing fears, facing the things that you're avoiding, is always really advisable.
Yeah. And I remember, I think it was another conscious mind conversation you had where you were mentioning that when you actually go through the process of what you will be experiencing now, it's going to make it so much more bearable, which I totally understand. So, like grieving, this planet before we are leaving. I mean, I feel like that was really healing for me, and just knowing what to prepare for and going through the emotions. And I think it's like the acceptance is what is going to help people the most when it comes to the shift. And it's going to be much more bearable when you know what to expect and you've grieved, you've gone through those emotions first, and then it happens. It's almost like you're not so caught off guard.
Well, that's what happened to you effectively in your sessions, right? We were going to shift, or you're going to shift before Thanksgiving, and you were not going to experience even the old earth. But because you heard that and accepted it and had that experience, then they're like, cool, she can actually be of assistance for longer.
Yeah, in older, yeah. And yeah, it's so interesting. It's like I just feel like experiencing it myself, like I think the session with Gaia, that was like extreme confirmation about um, us actually leaving this planet, because seeing her leaving, that was just so profound. And yeah, there's like this acceptance that I find so healing with this whole process. And I mean, if I didn't have the sessions, if I just heard the videos myself, I would feel like, you know, I could probably accept it too eventually, but I feel like sessions themselves are just so important because you're there, like, your subconscious is actually experiencing it, and then hearing it back. You hear things that you didn't even think that were there beforehand, like such good information, such good advice.
Absolutely. And the significance and importance of re-listening to sessions, because the first time we hear it, so we already sort of feel like, oh, I already know everything that's in there because I experienced it, and then you listen to the session and you go, I don't remember that, or oh, that's right. And there's little parts of it that are like these golden nuggets of information and wisdom, but because there's so much in the session, it's almost overwhelming. It's like, where do you even unpack it? And remember, in Dolores Cannon's time, she would only really probably only be able to see one person sort of once as she was traveling around the world. And so she really wanted the best out of for her clients with that one session. Now we've got so many practitioners. You could, have many sessions as you were expanding in your journey. And so listening back to it has so much layers and healing. You get that high frequency. You feel the subconscious again when you're listening through your session, your own subconscious. So even if they're trying to heal you for something that you had, 3 years ago in a session, listening to them again would update you, upgrade you. I think the energy is timeless. What was the session? Remind me of, because I'm just thinking of Gaia. Sorry. So she came in energetically to you and wanting comfort, and this was literally the bizarrest thing, because at the same time, in our side of the world, Gaia had reached out to two people that I know, and then including myself, where she was in this horrendous state. And it was so much to process that I hadn't even talked to you for, I think, quite a few days. And then you sort of shared with me what you had experienced, and I was like, wait, when was this? Because it was very similar timing, if not the same day, I think we discovered later. But that is undeniable. And you would never want any of your beloved friends or family to ever feel what she was going through. And when she was at that breaking point, I mean, you can deny things as much as you want, but when you have that personal experience, was a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I was really, really surprised. It took me a while. I want to say a few weeks, just to release it. It was a lot. And I did not realize um, how she was feeling. And it was just heartbreaking. And I was feeling it all over. Um, and yeah, it was interesting because it happened at night, where she came, and she was like a small, like, energy, like almost like a child, like a small energy. And I was sleeping and I woke up and I felt her snuggling up next to me for comfort. And that's when you mentioned other people are experiencing it as well as yourself. And that was just like, whoa, like, oh, it's a lot. I'm so happy I could have helped. I'm so glad I was a part of it. And that is like extreme confirmation.
Yeah. I think when she released, I think she went to you. And
Yeah.
because, and so you did not feel her, um, yeah, uh, the energy you felt that you had to release that few weeks later, I think is what all of the all of the beings here who can hold a lot of high frequency because they're not distracted with a lot of density. Because if you're able to have and hold a lot of energy, you can either hold it for a lot of positive high frequency energy or a lot of density. And so you're making the choice. Are you going to be a high vessel of frequency vibration, or are you going to use your capacity to hold a lot of density? Experiences for both. I'm not trying to judge, but for those who could hold high frequency and they had space and the capacity to hold the high frequency, I think we were all given that responsibility to hold her energetically, or not actually really hold her, but hold the energy she was holding for us. And so we all throughout the world were holding on and supporting the energy she once did. And so it was like we were maximizing ourselves energetically, holding her. And there's, I could imagine there's probably, thousands and thousands and thousands. I don't know the numbers, but, we were all holding on and doing our own bit and our small bit. And it was a lot for us. So collectively, we were buffering the loss and her stepping out, because if we didn't do it, then it would have been a lot more destruction, I think, and a lot more density. And we didn't want the humanity, we didn't want everyone to just drop into that density, because that would be really not productive. And so it was like all the light workers just held space and held up the energy. And it makes me feel really tearful. I don't know why.
Yeah. It was it was a lot. I mean, it was the most heartbreaking feeling I've had, and it was for a while.
I think we could resonate with her responsibility, and then we were given like consciously we may not know this, but subconsciously we know the depth and level of her torture and pain
Hmm.
and her challenge. And um, while we all want to be of service and we all stood up to help her, and I feel like she's so grateful for that. And all the collectives are so grateful because those who were and are of service, this is a really significant thing that's been happening, and it's so important. And but yeah, these emotions are very real, and that energy that we felt was very real. And it was just a very delicate time, quite a significant time. And now that she's out of that, she's had some healing and some time sort of out. Now she's back and sort of being her guide. I mean, when we say she's gone and she's back, it's kind of like, she's gone nowhere, but she's still here. Like the whole illusion of time and space conundrum. But it feels like as humanity has awoken more and more and more and awakened more, um, it's just I'm trying to just quickly like figure out, because I haven't really questioned actually what all the layers and the ripple effects of all of that experience was. And so it's just a big wave of emotion that just sort of came over me. It feels like it's gratitude from the collectives, because we those who were of service really took one for the team kind of thing. And it was a collective, physically it was a collective project. And it was very dense, um, but it wasn't dense. It's I don't know if I've got the right word, sorry. Oh,
Yeah. No, it was, that's why I kept saying heartbreaking because it was like there was love, like so much love, but then there was so much pain. And it's hard to explain it. Just remembering it is emotional. Um,
it really is.
it
Here it is.
is.
Hey, listen to our conscious mind conversation about how to like understand, QHHT, and now I'm having a bit of a cry fest, but it is so traumatizing what happened to her, and so utterly, utterly just eh, just so unnecessary. Truly was so unnecessary, and that is judgment because it just was so out of like so over the top and so ridiculous. But as she said, it's while her life contract changed, there was great lessons there, and just because she learned one lesson, well, many lessons from this lifetime, it's going to go down in history for all collectives to know kind of like what not to do and how extreme things could go and be. And while everyone here is on this physical planet to help support the energy, for those who are still trying to master their emotions in the third dimension, all of the collectives who are physically here, ascending energy and holding space for us, it's taken a lot of time for them as well. It's impacted so many beings on planet, off planet, all around. It's impacting other planets. Um, Many energy sources from certain planets are being pumped into the earth and onto the earth, to help raise the frequency vibration, and that energy has been depleted. Like while energy is limitless, when you've got high frequency volume of certain energy and you're draining it, and there's not much growth from it. It's just, yeah, the whole conversation about everything is, it's a lot. Anyway, sorry. Maybe we needed to go through that again together, because I feel like I just soldier on with all these sessions and don't stop and reflect some of these really bigger moments that, I probably didn't acknowledge my own feelings and thoughts with it, and just felt like I just had to keep moving on and moving forward and experiencing different sessions to think about moving forward and how to help. And I was just telling a client today she needed to just stop and own her own feelings. And sometimes it's really hard to stop and think about our own feelings and experiences. So thank you, Sally, for reminding me of that.
Yes. I think it's just it's healing. It's definitely healing. And I'm just so happy that she's in such a better place. Like whenever, I think it was the last two sessions, it was a few sessions ago, but you were mentioning Gaia, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for her. So happy.
I think while we are super happy for her and super glad that she is in peace, I'm wondering if some of the energy of her pain that we didn't even know we were having with us also needed to be released. And so we had this lack of that emotion and energy and pressure. Um, so yeah, I mean, I feel like there's huge conversations and huge sessions within this conversation. So
Yeah,
I
profound.
it was quite sensitive too. So we knew that the collectives weren't wanting to publicly talk about it, because it was so vulnerable timing, and so we knew that um, we knew that we were getting certain information which was not to be public, and we knew that there had to be a time for us to wait for them to be able to give us public information because of the sensitivity of what was happening to her body and what was happening to her soul and why. And I guess because we paused ourselves to think, okay, well, we will be waiting for when we are supposed to be of service to this information. We didn't process the feelings and thoughts about it, so we just, very diligently accepted what was happening and why, and knowing that it's all being protected from much more clever advanced beings than us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. It is like we just kind of uh experienced it and then kept going. And this is, I think, the first time we've actually talked about it in a while. So
I don't think
um
we even talked about it afterwards because it was just like we were both sort of numb to it and focusing on just moving forward. 3D has this amazing way of distracting us, distracting us from it. And this is the hard thing about the duality. We've got our metaphysical life and all of the hobbies and projects that we do in the metaphysical world, and then we've got our 3D physical world, which we are balancing. And both worlds look surreal to each other.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. I totally understand.
And so, oh, that emotion was it was extraordinary timing. And then I think lots of people panicked because it's like, what do you mean she's gone? Are we on the old earth now? And people were wanting like information, and it was like just give some time for things to unfold as it needs to unfold. And yeah, it's all very it's incredible. It's been such an incredible journey, and I'm sure we only get a slither of perspective and information from what's going on in the bigger realms and perspectives. And I was told today through this client that her family are going to reunite after the shift and laugh and laugh and laugh at how serious they took the 3D when they remember who they are and
Mhm.
what they've all gone through and why they wanted these connections and relationships and why they wanted to play out the roles that they played out. And they're going to find it so hysterical that they cried over certain things and took it so seriously. And it's like, yeah, it was a really interesting little aspect to reflect on. Um, that they just gotta just love it and just think it's not ridiculous, but it was like we fully bought into those emotions. We completely forgot who we were.
It's crazy. It's crazy when it's said like that. But then there's a part of you that's like, that makes so much sense, you know?
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
Well, I'm assuming when we get to the fifth dimension, or I'm not too sure where you get to at the point where you remember your life contract and the lessons and why you wanted to experience certain things. So it's that's kind of like the summary of your life experiences and why. When you get to review, how did I go? I know I had this plan. Did it work?
Yeah, I think it's so that's why it's so awesome and so healing to hear the sessions, because they do provide that higher perspective that can be difficult sometimes when we're just in this 3D mindset. So
Absolutely.
it's like a breath of fresh air.
I think when people start listening to the sessions, they notice that there is no ego in the content. And so it takes them a while to understand what's going on, especially since there's no like visuals. It's just, a random flower. And it just sounds like people just randomly talking about, just the end of the world. And okay, and so tell me more about that subconscious, like it must be very alarming to accidentally stumble onto something like that and then think, oh my goodness. But of course, it's not the end of the world, and it is evolution, and it is a shift to a new location, and there is, we've explained it so many different ways, and I hope that hearing different sessions raw. All of the sessions are raw to listen to from beginning to end. There is no editing of anything. God, if I could edit things, you wouldn't hear my children stomping around and a whole lot of stuff. It's very, very real. It's very homemade, these sessions. And so, yeah, it is interesting. And of course, you get to hear the questions and the answers and the delivery. And the way, if I wrote out the questions and the answers, uh, people could add their own like impact and tone into it. And I find um, that when you don't hear the raw sessions, but you hear someone explaining the sessions, there is definitely not Chinese whispers, but there is definitely lost transform, lost in transformation. No, what is it? It is
Lost in transition.
yes, that. And so I think it's really important to listen to the pure sessions so you can hear the frequency and you can feel the frequency and you can um, tune into it. When you're just hearing someone's ego speaking about the sessions, that's ego. And if that person's still got inner work to do, you're going to hear ego with inner work. And I would prefer for myself to listen to the pure sessions to hear the questions, the actual questions, how they were asked, and what the actual information and answers were.
Yeah. Yes. And what I notice when it's just read out by the person and it's not an actual session, there you don't get that vibration, that frequency. Because I do feel the frequency in the videos,
Mm.
and it's almost like it's like I can't even explain it, but it's like it hits me deep inside where there's like this knowing, especially like with information. It just like it's like yes, like I totally resonate. Whereas when you're hearing someone robotically describing or explaining it, it's so different, you know? So different.
Yeah. And of course, so many people are confused about why there isn't titles on every video and why there isn't comments on every video. And this is what the collectives, everything the collectives have been asking, I have obeyed. It's very significant and purposeful, everything that is done and that is out there. And I don't want to be a brand. I do not want to be a name. I do not want to be a face. I want to be of service. And this is, I think, part of the fact that I'm not trying to own the information, I'm not trying to edit the information. That this is why we get bigger access to the bigger information.
Yeah, because you're coming from a heart-centered place. And that is why I resonated so strongly with the videos. And um, it's because there was nothing about it that was like, there was nothing screaming for attention. It was like, just, it is what it is. And it was just, yeah, like raw and just like, I don't know, there's something so honest about it, about the information, not trying to be pompous or trying to get any kind of attention off of it. It was just so different. And
It's
it
just
just totally,
very,
oh, sorry.
it's just very raw and real.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I have grown along this journey, like everyone who listens and wants to grow. So, I don't mind that I have been, limited along my journey because, everyone has been. I don't mind that I still have inner work to do because everyone still does it, but I'm actively wanting to improve myself, not so I can get praise from others or notoriety from others, but because I want this for myself and I want this for my family and friends. I want to be the best version of me. And so I've taken responsibility of my own behavior and actions and I've been accountable. And it's interesting that so many people don't understand when I'm channeling or when I'm in the session or when I'm just being me. And a lot of people want to just judge me for me being Joe and want to dismiss the information from the channeling. And I mean, I understand that is a really good reason to be like, have that deniability of like, wow, look at her, listen to her. She said the other day she's super cheap. Like, I'm just I'm just being real. My choices may not be your choices, but my passion and drive to understand what is happening so I don't buy into fear. And I am allergic to fear. I come out irrational when I suddenly start buying into fear. And I can't be in that fear. I feel like lived so much of my life in fear. And it is just extraordinary. The information from the sessions was not something I was ever seeking. It just kept spewing out of the sessions in different forms and made me so curious, and I wanted to understand more. And it was really hard because I wasn't hearing this from other practitioners. And so then I started finding other practitioners all around the world, and I started doing the BQH course so then I could do sessions online because QHHT doesn't allow sessions online. So I had to change what I loved to be able to be compliant and to be able to get this information for my own curiosity. And then, of course, Dolores Cannon herself has come in so many times to reassure me and to guide me in the right directions and to help me understand, some of the things that have really made me struggle, I guess, from time to time. And I saw the other day someone trolling her and her work, and I just thought, oh my gosh, like, wow. Could you imagine if all of the world knew about her work and understood her work and had had their own work themselves and own sessions? I mean, this world would be fantastic.
Mhm. Yeah. And when she's come in to a few of the sessions that I've had, she was nothing but genuine and loving and just such a beautiful soul, such a gift, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, she always humbles me when she comes into the sessions because she's just so graceful, and she fully understands what it's like to present to the world really controversial information that people are afraid of. And, I certainly did not want to be the person that had to represent the shift that is not just a mindset, and that's unfortunately, fortunately, people are getting this information, but unfortunately, it does push people the wrong way because it's so confronting. And I understand that many people who just sort of like half-heartedly listen to some of these sessions, it must be really confusing because it must just sound like such fear-based information. When you don't understand things, everything can be fear-based. When you don't understand something, you automatically go into fear. And it's about unpacking and understanding all aspects of the information and the situation to remove the fear. It's like knowledge is the antidote for fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that's why it sounds like we get new information, people go into fear because they're like, oh, does that mean there's a change or what's happening? And they get sort of like, really like frantic about, oh, she's gone now? Does that mean we're not shifting? I think quite a few people, bless them, were like, oh, she's already gone. Oh, so the shift's cancelled then? And it's like, no, but that would be fantastic if we could evolve here and all that. That's what was the original plan. And as we know, many plans have to change for many reasons, and they're beyond our 3D little mindsets and beyond our responsibilities and control. And I think a lot of people struggle with what's out of their control.
Yes. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, do you think we've summarized sessions and what they truly are and how to relax into them?
Yeah, I would say just always have an intention too, before the session to be as relaxed and to, you know, have faith and know that you're protected. Just have that intention. It's it would be difficult if you felt fear before. I would say try and minimize that as much as possible. Nothing happens to you that's um, nothing's going to harm you. Um, they're not going to show you things unless you're ready to see them or hear things that you're ready to hear. So I would just say, just trust that you're so protected and you're so loved, and whatever information comes through is what you need to hear at the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Acceptance and trust. And I think you're so right when you said if you trust your team, you can relax into it knowing you're fully protected, you're going to be fully guided. Even if you think the petition is a bit, maybe not your personal cup of tea, um, they have to do their job properly and professionally, and you can trust that their team is supporting them through it. And so, I just wanted to say, popped in, if you're looking for interns because they're free and you want to suss them out and you want to make sure they've done enough inner work. I mean, it's a bit awkward. Like, how much inner work have you done really to be of service to me? I want to. it's, a, it's a challenging question because everyone wants to say, "Oh, I'm perfect. I don't have anything wrong with me." Bless us all. So many people are afraid that if they try interns who don't know the bigger information about the shift, the sessions aren't going to work, and so they sort of dismiss. People have said to me, "Oh, I found this practitioner who's really local to me, and she's an intern, but she doesn't believe the new Earth is a different planet, so I can't go with her." It's like, no, 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 no. Go with her. The session will still be valid. And what if your subconscious does tell the truth about what is happening and why, and that practitioner has to get experience of understanding what is happening and why? And good practitioners will grow with their work and allow the subconsciouses to teach everyone. Certain practitioners will want to control and manipulate the sessions, and that doesn't really work out for them when they have a different agenda that is not to empower their clients or humanity.
Yeah, very, very well said. I agree.
Um, any final words that you want to share with people who love your sessions and think you are just a beautiful gift to humanity?
um, just trust in your teams, of course. Trust in yourself. Um, you're loved. You're so loved, and I just hope that you get growth and learning from the sessions that you're hearing. And yeah, we're all doing inner work. No one's perfect. We're all, just human. So we're all trying, and just thank you for being on this journey with us. Thank you so much.
So, so sweet. Well, thank you, Sally, so much. I honestly feel so humbled and gifted to, well, not gifted, you've gifted me.
Well, you are kind of gifted.
No, with dad jokes and my mansplaining skills. I am brilliantly gifted at that, and I will put that on my CV. Um, no, I feel so like you've been gifted to me by the universe. Oh, I feel like I'm gonna cry. I feel
Oh,
I feel like Dolores did help, that's for sure, with our connection because she has popped in so many beautiful times and sessions and lingered. Remember that time where she wouldn't go? It was so
yeah.
cute. And, you know, she loves this work and she loves seeing how this work is evolving and truly still helping humanity. She doesn't own this work and she never truly had that ownership of it either. She wanted to help all, and whatever could happen to help all, she would be fully in there. And she did not exclude and she did not um, judge, and she was still very human, but she always wanted the best for humanity and she wanted everyone to have information given to them because she knew it was being suppressed. And she still is a very strong advocate for the truth being shared because she still feels like many people are being suppressed with the truth. And this is why she is frustrated with some people's choices to not share the truth. And she has, just because she has left her physical body doesn't mean she hasn't changed that position. She's still very firm in that position that the truth must be shared, the truth mustn't be hidden, and the truth mustn't just be sold to certain people. It must be shared honestly with high integrity. And people who find her information are ready to step up and find the truth and the high integrity. What you do with it on your journey as you explore the information from her sessions, from her books, from her radio shows, from her energy herself, it's timeless. It's still there. It is still there, and she is still supporting everyone so much. And I just wanted to say one thing. The very first time I talked to her, I'd been listening to quite a few of her videos, and she's always sort of recommending, read my books, buy my books, buy my books. She keeps saying, buy my books, buy my books. Or maybe she said read her books, I'm not too sure. But anyway, when I was listening, I was with a channeler who didn't know anything about her, and we called her in because we were doing this project of like icons and influences. And she came in, and the very first time I was talking to Dolores, she told me to buy her book and read her books. And I just thought, you are hustling to selling your merchandise in the afterlife, you little sassy queen. And I laughed so much, and I was like, oh my God, you still, what's up with you and your merchandise? And I realized, at some point when I, grew up and realized what she was trying to tell me is there's so much information in my books. My books are so protected. My books are so high vibrational. My books are so giving everyone so much answers, and there's so much work, so much work. She gave so much of her life and hard work and dedication to help and get the truth out for humanity. And just because those books are a few years old now doesn't mean that the information's still significant. It's profound. However you can find her books, however you can find her information, seek them out, seek it out. Just because she's not alive doesn't mean that the information is not valid. It is incredibly valid. It is incredibly important.
Yes. So, so true. Just amazing information, and what she went through. Oh my gosh, she went through so much, but still worked, still did it.
Remember in the one of the sessions, which is in the Mastering the Old Earth, she said that she loved the truth and the integrity of her work more than the haters and more than the critics. I butchered that line, what she said in a session, but her passion and drive for sharing the truth and getting it out was more than those people who are skeptics who thought, oh, what she's doing is just gimmicky and entertainment. I mean, it was just crushing their own little egos.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was definitely a way shower of profound truth and wisdom. And I know she comes into sessions and she gives people the exact information that they need to hear. And she's always open for being connected with and guided still, and to give us her, it's like, to just her beautiful energy and love is so special and sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to say too that I am so thankful that I met you, Joe, because again, I was going through so much for those 6 years and I was so alone. And I'm so happy I didn't end up talking to any other practitioner because I felt like that could have really pushed me backward, and there was a purpose why we connected. And you were the first person that I actually did a hypnosis session with. And you changed my life. And I am so thankful.
Mm. Well, it's the work that changed your life, and you were wanting to expand and explore and know who you were. So, you really did this. No one, I can't change anyone's life. Really, I can't.
Yeah.
So it is just, I can't heal anyone. I can love the crap out of you every single which way. I can love you so much until you fart because I'm squeezing you so tight with my love. Like I want to like embrace the world and heal the world and protect the world from all these hardships, because these hardships look really scary and hard. I want to do all of that stuff, but I can't impact other people's life contracts and experiences as much as I would love to. but I have to be responsible and mature with, why everything is unfolding as it is, even though it's so hard sometimes to look at it. So I think we were guided. It was really the right time. I don't know if would have been a good enough practitioner if I had met you earlier. And so, I feel like I expand, I grow, and I think what I feel like they're wanting me to say is that many practitioners get stuck in they have a concept or an idea of something and they don't expand themselves. They're not open to asking more questions about what they think they already know. And so it's like, I already know this information, say, for example, that the new earth is here and we're already in it. And so they would never seek out other information or any other um, yeah, so this is what's really limiting them, is because they've stopped asking questions about certain things they think they know. And I can see that that would, really limit the conversation.
Hmm. Yep. Yes.
Yeah. Now I'm like, oh, I better make sure that I'm not doing that in any form.
Actually, it's I was just thinking of something when we were having sessions, and then I mentioned something that was really random, and then you asked something that was the way you ask the questions, I think, is what makes you such a great practitioner, is because you ask it in so many different ways that they actually will answer it and then explain it more in a way that I don't think I don't know. It's so amazing. It's definitely not, you were definitely meant for this. You were meant for this at a certain point. This is your life contract. And yeah, I love you for it. And you're amazing.
Mm. Well, of course, I just, want to honor Dolores because she did the groundbreaking hard work.
Hmm.
This is really fun. This journey, even though it's extraordinary, like interesting times, and so this is really significant and important for so much, not just the people here on Earth, but for all the collectives that have been supporting. And this is why people need to hear this information, is because they need to be prepared emotionally, release all the worries and upset, and be in that balance and neutral, so when the shift does happen they can be of service and not traumatize themselves or in shock themselves. I think everyone's still going to have some degree of shock, but being of assistance and service beyond. There is more that we need to focus on after the shift, and the traveling to the new earth and the actual acclimatizing of the new earth and the way of new earth, and all that sort of stuff. There's so much to it. There's so much to get excited about, but also focus on today. We're still here today for a reason. Are we part of the solution to empower people, or can we pick up our own skip of our step and see things from a very neutral perspective of, this world looks very strange and peculiar and crazy, even more so than normal, but the significance of that is vital and important.
Hmm. Very well said. Yep.
Okay, thank you so much. I love you, and
Love you.
talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.